Welcome back to this YouTube channel, guys. Now, if you already haven't subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to talk about different trading strategies and how do you find the right trading strategy for you. Trading is obviously a very custom tailored thing to everyone's own needs. So what is it you got to ask yourself to truly find a strategy that suits you? There's a few questions you got to ask yourself, and we're going to go through all of them. Here, the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of it. Make sure you stay till the end, especially if you're new and you're lost as to which strategy you should go with. I'm going to give you the reasons and the pros and cons of different strategies. One strategy doesn't work for everyone, and this is not to knock any strategy. This is just going to point out the good and bad, and we'll go from there. So a little bit about myself. I started out with trading a session lows and highs strategy. Actually, before that, I started out with trading support and resistance in the fib. Then I went to a session low and high strategy. That was actually a very good strategy. Then I went to SMC, and then I switched to a liquidity strategy that's kind of price action based. And at this point, what I could say is if I went back and I did it all over again, I would have probably just stayed with my session low and high strategy. What I'm trading today is somewhat similar to that, and I could have probably saved myself a lot of time had I just stuck with one strategy, because I would have refined it over time and I would have got better with it. So if I could go back, that's what I would have done. And I'm going to talk about why in a second. So I made a little diagram here. You guys have probably seen something similar on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or wherever. It's called a forex trader triangle. So the idea of this triangle is you can have 2 out of 3. You can't have all 3. If you want 2 of these, you got to sacrifice the other. So you have to pick what kind of trader are you. Are you okay with going for higher risk and higher reward, going for higher trades? Well, then you got to understand that you're likely going to have a lower hit rate. That comes with the territory. Or are you wanting a really high hit rate and maybe just going for 1 Rs? Or are you wanting to be somewhere in the middle where you're hitting decent Rs and a mediocre hit rate? Myself personally, and this is pretty much come from trading everything from 1 Rs to trying to hit, 30, 40 Rs. What I found is when I try to hit big Rs, the trades don't happen very often and your hit rate's really low. When I hit really low Rs, I find that my hit rate's higher, but it's like I almost don't feel satisfied. So for myself personally, I kind of went with the best of both worlds. And like most of my trades today, I would say are in that 2.5 to 4 R range. And I would say about 70 or 80% of my trades are in that range. And then about 20% of my trades, I would say, are in that 5, 6, 7 R range. I don't really go much above that. So I mostly intraday. Sometimes I'll hold a swing for a day or two. But I kind of found my own strategy, I guess, and my own trading plan with that. So I want to talk about this a bit. This here. Now you've probably seen on Instagram, people are hitting whatever they're saying, 1 to 30 R, 1 to 50 R, 1 to 100 R. You need to understand that those trades, while they can happen, they're not going to happen very often. And what I found is you should, if you want to do well in trading, you want to take care of your psychology. And the way you keep good psychology is you don't have, like couple month losing streaks. And the way you do that is you find something either with a high win rate or a medium win rate. This is for me personally. You might be different. Maybe your psychology is different. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, for me, I find my sweet spot's about that 2.5 R to about 3.5 or 4 R. Soon as I go above this 3.5 or 4 hour, I start sacrificing my win rate. And if I start sacrificing my win rate, ultimately you just make poor decisions. Again, this is for myself. So that's kind of my sweet spot. So there's some other things you need to consider when you're picking a system. Do you want something really simple? Do you want something more complex that allows you to trade the market more dynamic? So what I mean by that is if you want to trade something simple, you trade your, the most common things, obviously, your support, resistance, Fibonacci strategy. It's simple to learn. And as long as you don't choke your trades, you can do okay with it. As soon as you get to the more complex side of things, you get into smart money concepts, which has 100 different variations of it. Everybody's got their own spin on it. Personally, if I recommended to anyone that they should do smart money concepts, I would say I would basically only swing trade it at this point, knowing what I know about it now. And if I went back and I did trade that strategy, I would use it as a swing strategy. 1 or 4 hour entries in the direction of the weekly. It's just, in my opinion, it's a better swing strategy than it is an intraday strategy. Again, that's my opinion. You don't have to agree. Support and resistance, same thing. I would probably intraday / swing, but I could probably come down, half hour entries, 15-minute entries. Myself, I trade RLS, which is range liquidity system. It's a very complex system to learn initially because it requires you to read raw price action. And there's it's a little more in the moment system. The good thing about the system I trade is it allows me to trade ranging markets or trending markets. I can trade different market conditions. The trade-off to that is it's a more complex system with more moving pieces, so it can become overwhelming and harder to learn. Now, myself and Peach, the other coach in RLS that we teach, we tell our guys this, we don't expect you to get this strategy in 30 days. It's complex, but the benefits of it is you can trade one pair and you can find trades on one pair, most days, not every day, but most days. So this kind of brings me to my next point when it comes to selecting a strategy. Are you wanting to trade one pair, which I recommend for beginners? Even a lot of guys I know that are really good at trading only trade 1 or 2 pairs. I have a buddy that watches 16 pairs, but I think he only takes 2 or 3 trades a week. He's very picky. So there's different approaches at it. So it all depends on your strategy, how picky you are, all of that. But like I said, 1 pair, 2 max, is what I would recommend. Now, one thing I will say, not every strategy will work the same for every single asset class. What I mean by that is my strategy works extremely well on Euro USD. It works pretty decent on other assets, but if I had to pick an asset class, I can tell you right now that Euro USD is where my strategy shines. I can trade gold with it. I can trade indices with it, but I'll make more money on it trading Euro USD. And you've seen a lot of traders where they'll only trade US 30 or only trade gold. That's because their strategy works the best with that asset class. If you're trading a strategy that relies heavily on trends, you're going to want an indice. You're going to want gold. I would probably not trade FX as much if I relied just heavily on a trend strategy. If I ever did trade anything beside Euro USD, I would trade gold myself. I think gold's a bit of a beast. If I did trade gold, it would likely be the only pair I focus on. But that, again, comes down to you. What's your availability? Are you able to be at the charts for both sessions? If you can only be at the charts for one session or the other, that's going to make a huge impact. Let's say you can only trade London session. I would be looking at pound pairs, European pairs, and those are kind of your best moving pairs. But if you can only trade New York, for example, you're going to you're going to want to look at gold. You're going to want to look at NASDAQ. You're going to want to look at US 30. So that also has to come into consideration. The next thing is how much can you spend at the computer? Well, maybe you only have an hour a day and you have, whatever, you work 8 hours a day and you spend 2 hours a day commuting to work and back. Chances are you're going to have to swing trade, or you're going to learn to, probably not even trade forex and get into more of the crypto side of things or something. So these are all questions you have to ask yourself. What's your availability? What session do you want to trade? Are you able to sit and look for 1 and 5 minute entries, or are you more limited on your chart time and you want a higher hit rate, and maybe you're only looking at 15, 30 minute and 1 hour entries? So these are all questions you have to ask. Now this one here, everybody on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever other platform you use, is always going to push some indicator on you. And all I can say about that is, unless you're using like moving averages as your higher time frame trend, which I can see, the more experienced you get, the more you're going to realize that indicators are lagging, and you're going to do better off long-term reading pure price action. What I mean by that is understand where you're reacting from, understand your candlestick language. This is the stuff nobody really teaches, how to read candlestick language. And yeah, there's like the trading, what is it called? The trading candlestick Bible or something. And it's pretty baby pips. Like, it's very generic. Like, for our own system, we read candlesticks quite a bit different. And that is, again, something I think you'll develop over time as you see patterns happen over and over in the market. So these are all kind of the things I would consider when you're deciding a system. Also, your analysis time frame, your entry time frames, that's all stuff you got to consider. That's all going to come down to, what kind of job you have, what kind of chart time you have. The last thing you really have to decide is, do you want to be a trend trader, a liquidity trader? Do you want to do something that kind of allows you to trade either? Do you want to just scalp, which I don't recommend. I feel like scalping can be very hard on the psychology. Or do you want to swing trade, which is probably going to be the easiest to learn. The thing with swing trading is you got to have a lot of patience. You're waiting for days or weeks. Or do you want to be like an intraday swinger where you might close it out today, or you might hold it for a day or two? So myself, I intraday, and I'm kind of the odd time I hold for a day, sometimes two, and I'm probably going to be moving into, intraday / 2-3 day holds when the market presents these opportunities. So these are all things to consider. The recommendations I can give you to start out is go for what's going to give you a higher win rate in the beginning. Maintain a good psychology. You'll build a better trade plan quicker. You'll develop better habits quicker. If I could change one thing in my trading journey, I would have completely avoided learning smart money concepts and trading it and going for the high risk-reward ratios. And like I said, if I did go back and trade it, I would have gone for way lower risk-reward ratios and probably traded a way higher time frame. But that would be one thing I would have completely avoided in my journey. Nothing against the system. I just think it's crap. At least on Instagram. It's been marketed really bad where, you can hit 100 hours every day, and it's not realistic. So if you have one takeaway from all this, it should be literally find the thing that gives you the highest hit rate. And the highest hit rate will produce the best psychology, which will produce the best results. And you'll kind of just modify things from there as you go on. As in terms of what exactly you should lean to, I can't tell you that. It's all going to come down with all the different things I have listed on the screen. Whatever you find, stick with it, refine it, change it. Don't go changing a system 5 times. the answers you're seeking for are on the charts more so than buying everybody's course and book. I feel like after you've seen one or two courses or a couple and you decide you like that strategy, from that point on, it should be more chart time and backtesting and analyzing, and that's where you'll learn how to trade. You don't need 500 courses. You don't need to be in 30 communities. Less is more in this case. And there's the obvious too, like baby pips isn't going to get you profitable. I would probably not spend a lot of time on it once you know the basics. But yeah, without rambling on too much, guys, these are kind of my recommendations for how to find a forex strategy. Be really careful with the marketing online. If someone only shows wins and they never lose and, they have a 95% hit rate, and I would be leery of that. I would be leery of someone that hits high risk reward every single day. Just like things to watch out for. But yeah, don't get sucked into the shiny thing. The last thing I want to mention too is, let's say you have a system where you can hit 10 Rs, but it's only like a 20% hit rate. Or let's say you have a system where you can hit two Rs, but you're hitting 70%. If you're going with the first system, you're going to risk a way lower amount because your hit rate's low and you got to protect your account. Whereas if you go with the second one and your hit rate's really high, instead of risking 1%, you could risk like 5% because you have a 70% hit rate. So you can actually make more money hitting 2 Rs than the guy hitting 10 Rs. And you have better psychology. So that's the big one with the risk reward ratio. If you have a higher hit rate, you can risk way more. And if you can risk way more, you'll make as much as the guy hitting high Rs, but you'll do it with a higher hit rate. So yeah, that's about my 2 cents for finding a forex strategy, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Again, if you haven't subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button. I will see you guys in the next video.